Frank and my two friends, Alex and Jordan, made the decision to go hunting near the old abandoned town of Hollow Hill for the weekend. We had been wanting to go hunting for a while, but everyone was preoccupied with their jobs, so we kept missing the opportunity. We were close as a group of four for a very long period of time. While we occasionally went hunting together because we enjoyed it, as time went on, life got busier and we met up less frequently. However, I was looking forward to this trip because of Hollow Hill, a place whose name alone caused people to shudder, and it has long been a source of fright for everyone. No one tried to interfere with it because of its enigmatic tales. Some said that the forest and hills that surrounded the town were cursed, while others claimed that it was all just a rumor. The hills and woods were not even visited at night by the town residents. Who knew what may happen, and who wanted to go and kill themselves? Over the years, we were told stories about crazy sounds coming from the entrance to the town. The elders advised us to avoid the town. Well, I was not going to judge the place based on rumors. In fact, I had always desired to go there, but was unable to do so due to my distance from it. This time, I was thrilled because I was eager to learn the truth about this mysterious town. But only if I knew that something much more terrifying than death was awaiting me. Even though I was excited, deep down I was hesitant because of some unsettling feeling in my heart. Of course, I shrugged it off, as I had been awaiting for this chance a while. Furthermore, I was glad that Jordan was with us, as he was the oldest of us and had a far better experience in hunting. He also had an uncle that was killed back in the late 70s near Hollow Hill, so this town had always piqued his curiosity, and maybe he wanted to discover the truth too. Who knew? We all met at Jordan's farmhouse as the long-awaited weekend finally arrived. For a while, we just talked over breakfast, meeting friends and learning about what they had all been up to in life had always been a wonderful experience for me. Being an observant person, I have always treasured those little moments. However, after a while, Frank called to say that due to a business emergency, he would be unable to attend, but he still told us to leave as we were already planning. After some time, we gathered our things and ventured to town in Jordan's truck. The ride went fast, and we reached our destination before I knew it, because we were all engrossed in conversation. As I jumped out of the truck, I noticed Jordan's serious expression as he walked over to snatch his rifle from the back. Before I could ask him what was wrong, he said,
"You fellas better stay close. I hear people go missing from these parts every year."
Chill. No one's going to be missing,
I heard Alex say as Jordan ignored him. Alex hopped out of the truck and stretched his body as if he was too tired. Alex had always been the mischievous and careless kind of fella. He was always up for new activities, and I never noticed him getting stressed out, because in his view, life was all about having a good time. He flicked out his cigarette onto the ground, and my eyes widened in horror. I ran over and stomped out the light with my feet and looked back at him.
"Hey, what's your problem? You trying to burn the forest down?"
I scolded. He looked at me with a crazy smirk on his face, like he just didn't give a damn. And then he said,
Nag. You guys need to chill out with all those bogus ghost stories. And you, Matt, you just need to relax a little.
"Stop bickering. Let's go,"
Jordan said, as Alex rolled his eyes and laughed. Jordan handed us our guns and bags as we made our way down the trail. I was looking over at the forest, which held its own mystery. We were all strolling down in silence as the wind rustled through the trees and the sounds of birds could be heard all around. I got lost in the tree's mysterious beauty, which undoubtedly contained hidden realities. Even though I was receiving goosebumps all over my body, it seemed as though something sinister was drawing me to those woods. I was actually mesmerized by its silence. I was rescued from my thoughts when I felt Alex's arms on my shoulder.
What you thinking about?
He smirked.
Nothing you should know of.
Ouch.
Alex said, as Jordan shook his head over our unstoppable bickering. But he was used to it, as we had been like this for years. Jordan was leading us, as he had been coming out to these woods for many years. I could understand his curiosity and interest, but Alex and I had not been hunting out here as much since we lived 30 miles from here. I went hunting in many other places, but there was something in these hills that was so captivating and attracted me the most. I was sure I was going to come back here more in the future. Or was I? As we made our way through the main trail, I had my camera hanging from my neck. I was taking pictures of the woods because I found them interesting. I would stop to look at them every once in a while through my lens. Jordan was silently walking while Alex was busy looking here and there to pique his interest. After a while, I stopped in my tracks when I heard Alex begin to shout.
Guys, come here.
I turned back and saw Alex standing on the left, a little farther away from us. He came across an old campground. Someone had left behind their tent and camping gear. Jordan and I exchanged glances and walked over. We saw everything set up as if someone had been there for a while. Alex kicked over a chair and water bottles all at once we arrived at the remains of a campfire. We began searching for anything we could to understand what had happened here. Jordan walked around the tent and stared at us. He had an undecipherable expression on his face, as I could not understand him.
This can't be right. No one just up and leaves all the gear behind like that.
He said, his own voice coming strange to him.
Maybe they'll be back after a while?
Maybe,
Jordan said, still not believing it himself, and walked to the other side. I was going to follow him when Alex came out of the tent holding a Ziploc bag in his hand and said,
I don't know where they gone, but by the look of this sandwich, must have been over about a week or so. A week over? So why did they not come back?
I asked, confused.
I don't know.
He was obviously confused too, as he began to search through the bags to find something else. As we were talking, we saw Jordan come back with a shock on his face, as if he had seen a ghost. We both stopped and looked over at him as he stumbled on his feet.
Hey, you look like you saw a ghost.
Alex said, laughing.
I need you guys to follow me,
Jordan said, and I nodded. We followed Jordan through the thick, tall bushes, and then he suddenly came to a halt. We both stopped when he pointed at the tracks left from the campground.
Look, the track's in here, but I don't understand why someone would be walking away from the main trail.
Jordan looked at me as he tried to make sense of something, and my mind flashed with the rumors of people going missing from the mysterious woods of Hollow Hill. I tried to say something but couldn't come up with anything. Watching Jordan freak out like this made me feel frustrated. I felt uneasy, all the excitement leaving me in a second, and I was left with disturbing thoughts.
You both are overreacting,
Alex said as he walked over and kicked back the bushes. When he abruptly stopped, his eyes were wide in surprise.
Now what?
Jordan said in frustration. But when Alex did not respond, he walked towards him. We noticed large drops of blood leading further into the woods, hidden underneath the long bushes. He looked back at us and slowly said,
Hey, maybe we should follow it. See where it leads.
Jordan placed the rifle over his shoulder, shaking his head and said,
Hell no! You're not about to find me anywhere near Old Hollow Hill.
I was perplexed as I watched them argue and noticed the blood. I wondered what might have occurred. It was possible some animal had assaulted the former campers, or perhaps it was left over from some hunters who had discovered some prey. However, why leave everything behind? What if our things had been left behind like theirs? All the what-ifs came into my mind, and I spoke of what could be best at this point.
Hey, fellas, why don't we just camp out near the old campground and see if they return? Or we can just report it when we get into town. How's that sound?
Jordan looked at us as if he saw madness across our faces. He slowly began backing out of the woods and said,
I think you're both idiots if you ask me. And I'm not exploring anywhere near Hollow Hill.
But isn't that what we came here for?
Alex yelled.
No, we came for hunting, not exploring the area where my uncle died.
He yelled back, and that was enough to shut everyone up. Alex stopped arguing as everyone went silent. Of course, no one wanted anyone to die. After a while, Alex said,
Let's go with what Matt suggested.
Fair enough,
Jordan said, as we picked up our things to head back. There was an unexplainable tension in my body, as I could sense something big was going to happen. Something was wrong. I could also see it in Jordan's absent eyes, but maybe we were both just lost in thought, because soon Alex turned back to his goofy personality and began to cheer us up with his jokes. Later into the day, as night began to fall, we went ahead and gathered wood for the camp as night began to get colder. Jordan sat in his chair holding his gun, staring off into the woods, as if something were waiting to jump out at us. He never paid any attention to Alex or myself. Instead, he just sat there with a constant look of regret. I couldn't understand why, though. He had been visiting these hills for a long time, so why was he bothered so much? Maybe it was the first time he faced something like this. He had lost someone special to him, so I did not say anything. Alex also observed him, but kept quiet for a long time, until it became too difficult. He stuck a few hot dogs on a stick and placed it in the fire as I was doing the same, when he said,
You guys just need to relax. There's nothing out here but us and the wild animals.
Animals. Yeah. What else could be here other than that? I sighed a bit in relief, but as soon as he had said that, the woods had grown very quiet. All the rustling sounds of leaves and wind had stopped, as if someone had turned off a switch. I thought it was only me, but when I looked up, I realized something was off with this place. We were all suddenly feeling a state of shock, glancing our flashlights around through the dark woods to understand. Was there some animal silently approaching to prey upon us? The silence was terrifying and too much to handle. We couldn't even hear insects, animals, anything, except our unsteady breaths. Jordan stood up out of his chair and said,
I told you fools we shouldn't be here.
Before someone could respond, we heard something running through the woods as we all scrambled to grab our guns. My heart began beating as if it was going to burst through my chest. I did not know what was coming, but I was ready to shoot. But what we saw surprised us. A man came running through the bushes, waving.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Help me! Please!
He yelled in desperation. He looked disheveled. His clothes were dirty, as if he had been lost in the woods. He was scared, mumbling in fear, and we all tried to calm the man down. He appeared as if he had been out here for a while, his eyes speaking what his mouth could not. Something uncanny had definitely happened to him. We all sat him down as Alex gave him some water, watching him talk crazy and make no sense. I tried to help calm him, but he was shaking hard and could not stop his movements. Jordan grabbed the man by his arm, hoping to focus him, take him out of his lost mind.
How many of your campers are out there?
He yelled. The man looked into his eyes in fear and whispered, as if he was trying to tell us a secret but was too scared to let it out.
They were all dead, and I'm the only one that made it out alive.
The man suddenly grabbed Jordan's knife from his waist and pulled it out on us as we all backed up instantly.
All of you back up! Now get me out of here!
The man said with shaky hands and tears emerging from his eyes. Jordan drew up his gun and pointed at him.
You must be a damn fool if you think you're gonna take any of us with that knife.
The man sighed and dropped the knife, falling to his knees, crying and shouting.
We're all about to die out here!
What nonsense are you talking about?
Alex said, but he did not stop. The man began chanting some words like he had a spell put upon him. Alex tied him to the tree because we could not trust this madman. Who knew what he would do at night? I made up my mind and started to make my way back to the truck as Jordan picked up his knife and said,
It's too dark to be wandering around in these woods, not knowing if he might have some friends out there waiting on us to panic.
I nodded and quickly grabbed up my things and came back to the camp area. As the night was growing colder, I felt shivers all over my body. I tried to make myself warm with the fire, but nothing quite worked. Alex tossed more sticks into the fire to make the cold somehow less intense.
Hey, so what's your name? What are you doing camping so close to Hollow Hill?
He asked the man, who had finally gone quiet after a long while. Maybe he was tired of talking, and the cold night had turned him quiet too.
My name is Harvey, and me and my friends heard about all the crazy things that go on around Hollow Hill. So we decided to go and check them out for ourselves. A few of us wanted to explore the houses on the hill, but we heard a howling noise on the hill. And then we got separated. I turned around, trying to find my way out.
The three of us exchanged glances with one another. Alex looked over at me with a smile on his face. I knew he was not buying this excuse as he turned to the man and said,
Come on! You expect us to believe that? You've been out here a little longer than a few days. More like a few weeks. He's full of it.
I was speechless as I continued to gaze into the man's eyes. There was something that left him in this state. Something so perilous that he was unable to discuss it. I knew he felt helpless, as he did not know what was going to happen to him. This trip was really beginning to wear me out, and all I wanted to do was go home and relax. Hollow Hill was becoming too much, and I needed an escape. But fate had other plans. We all studied and watched as the night went on, and things started to get stranger. I felt a nightmare surrounding us. We tried to ignore it at first, not believing anything, but the night's temperature began to keep dropping every second, and we could hear low screams coming through the hillside. We all held our guns with a strong grip, ready to take any action needed. I was feeling scared out of my wits, but I tried to calm myself by taking a deep breath. Harvey started to laugh madly and said,
I was trying to warn you all, but you won't listen.
He looked like a complete psycho who was going to lose his senses soon. We listened to the woods as suddenly it grew silent once again, and Harvey started screaming in pain. His screams hurting his own throat as we watched the moonlight shine upon him, causing him to change right before our eyes. I stumbled back in disbelief at what was transpiring as his body began to change into a large wolf. His eyes grew red, his enormous fangs, capable of catching anyone in one bite, emerged. I was shivering and had goosebumps growing all over my body. I was completely immobile, as if my body had become shock frozen. As soon as Jordan gained his senses, he fired his rifle at the man as he continued to fully change into a werewolf. Alex fired, unloading his shotgun into it.
I knew it! Let's get the hell out of here!
Jordan screamed, trying to prevent the werewolf from coming near us. We all tried to run, but in one step, the werewolf, without any effect from the guns, appeared in front of Alex. The werewolf grabbed Alex by the head and ripped him apart as if he were no more than a rag doll. When Jordan yelled for me to run, my eyes widened as I turned to face him. Since I was unable to comprehend what was happening, I could only hear his voice as if it were a great distance away. Tears began to fall from my eyes as I turned to run. Alex, no, it couldn't be real. Without a flashlight, Jordan and I continued to run aimlessly through the woods, unsure of what to do or where to go. And at that time, I had finally understood that we had signed our very own death sentence.